Welcome to episode 15, and today we're going to be doing our Civilization series today. Sorry for about yesterday's previous video, just if you haven't watched it, I'll have it like linked in the subscription or whatever, but today we're going to be focusing on World War II. And I have updated the map, and I have updated my software, and we're going to continue to also down here they had recently gave over their piece of land. I don't know if I went over that, but now we're going to speak about what we have going down over here. We're going to see the French, no, not the French, but the Middle Africa or Central Africa territory right down here quickly begin to move into these rebellious territories. Give me 1 second. They're going to invade into the part where it's closest to the ocean. That way they can still have a bunch of sea access. Though they're still going to give over a bit of land over to the French. They're not going to... They want the sea access over here. And they're going to continue to invade where they can still get valuable resources and valuable areas that would up their population or whatever, stuff like that. And we're even going to see the Purple Rebellion up here begin to get invaded a little bit as well, but not too much, as the core territory it's not going to be efficiently. It's just not going to be able to get handed over to the Ethiop or over to the green team right here. Though we will finally focus on to up here. Remember how I said Germany, like there's supposed to be a major new person in this war? Yeah, it's not going to be anything over there. We're going to see the invasion of the North Chinese. But that's not it though. That's not it. We're gonna we're gonna continue to see the invasion. The Koreans are gonna quickly capture the capital, and this is when they manage to do something. The Northern Chinese Navy. Let me just. They had been traveling all the way down through the Korean Sea, and yeah, they're already getting they're already taking over all these regions, and turns out whenever they had approached their capital, right here, they're going to be taking over a few things. Now let's go ahead and go. For example, they had taken over a major city upon landing, which, by the way, they had not been expecting this by any means whatsoever. It just happened so suddenly. And yeah, they're instantly taking over all of these regions. They're giving back a bunch of payback, and they're even landing across Korea, making multiple of them connect. But on the bad side for Korea, this is not it. We have a new declaration of war. As if we go ahead and look at the military alliances, we have this heptagon nation wanting to invade into Korea, but the other two nations bordering it, these two Asian countries right there, they want pieces of the Green Territory lands. So they will call upon their allies up to bet. Um, that's kind of it. Yeah. But we will see a new country making an entrance to this war. Let me just go ahead and highlight this real quick. It will be Saudi Arabia, opening up a new entire front in this war. And we'll see another country, Brown African team, as they see a bunch of they don't like France being in Southern Africa or Northern Africa. This Michigan country, they know their place because they're kind of surrounded. And we will see the Scottish continue to invade. Again, I had adjusted these maps, so an entire update went through and it kind of corrupted a little bit of everything. So yeah, that didn't really work out well for me. But other than that, we will see the Scottish continue to invade into their Quebecan territories up here. and it continues to not go well for the Irish, as now they've basically lost all important warm sea access for their own territory. And the English, they're also invading this territory up here. The French, they wanted a little bit of these territories, but they can't really take much as their military is struggling to control multiple areas. And again, major event happens, and we'll see new rebellions appear in the Americas and into the African territories, especially the southern areas, and up here in the European areas. Right, and we will see a new rebellion appear, and it will be out of the southern Italian areas of France. Um, the entire new rebellion will appear here, 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 and even into the little bit of the African territories. Though not much, it's still a very major area for them. As they can do an entire African front that could defeat the entire French, though it would probably not be plausible. And we will see Prussia make a reappearance, and they will fight for their sovereignty. Though it was mostly into their capital regions, they will even fight all the way up here into the um, Swedish areas and in the Norwegian areas, as they really like Poland. Boom, boom, boom. And they will continue to move through these territories, and they have fully united their most of the um, Norwegian, Swedish areas up here, as they've gotten most of the important territories. And Poland will quickly regain all of these islands in the Baltic Sea, and they'll begin to do a counteroffensive and quickly regain several major cities and do a heavy major counteroffensive into the German-controlled areas. What? Okay, thank you. They will continue to make a pushback until they've reached a stopping point, which will look something like this. So yeah, Prussia has made a comeback, and they've even made a comeback all the way into the Saharan regions over here. Strangely enough, they border the Ethiopians. A little weird. And they'll even make a comeback on the Nigerian areas over here, and in the Gabon areas, which will look like this, but they will not make much of a comeback in the areas up here, which I believe this is Prussian territories right here. They will not make much of a comeback, but they will invade into a little bit of these areas, and we'll see the Irish even reappear a little bit in the English areas or Nova Scotia areas, which they have completely retaken over, as they've secretly been going back around, and they've been helping their ally out a little bit as well, though not too much of a grief. So this is what the war looks like now. Um, Ireland is trying to make a comeback over here, though they're not too successful. They will make a few small spots come back again, and it will be mostly the spots without much population, though it will appear into the large central area, which has a single major city. That is still a huge gain for the Irish. They will continue to link up with other regions of their country, and they basically control the entire middle western areas of the Irish island, which looks like this now. And yeah, they're slowly starting to regain all these territories over in the European areas. As now the reemergence of the Italian nation right here has made a giant comeback, and it will continue to make one as they've retaken over most premature or pre-conquered nations of the Irish Italian country. And this is when they will begin to invade into the said French territories, as they now begin to invade all the way up through the Italian peninsula, and they will control the Corsican islands, and they'll invade a little bit into the African territories, which the French weren't expecting them to make a huge reappearance, and hence why they had removed most of their navy over here and most of their army, which most of their armies over here are starting to make a fail. this is when we're gonna have the Iberian team make a slight comeback as they'll appear in several major cities, but not too much as it is a very small areas that do reappear. It is still, again, a very huge success for the Iberian nation against the world's quote unquote world's strongest nation. As now these countries are being baffled by all these stuff, by everything going on. And this is when they realized the Greeks weren't actually on their side. They may be in the military alliance. They've actually been on the side of the Heptagon alliance. The Egyptians were also on the side. They just wanted these lands right here, so they had been kicked out. And we're going to see the joining of the Greeks and the Egyptians, which makes a huge comeback for every other nation. And France is like, wait, what? So they begin to move all their armies from the Americas, which is a very terrible idea. But they will try to regain a little bit of American territory. It will go a little successful, not too much though, as Florida will continue to reign supreme in the coastal regions. They will not reign supreme in the inland areas, though they will continue to control quite a little bit of land, as they will now control around from right here all the way to there, and from here all the way down near the Louisiana area. So they control quite a bit of territory, and we're going to see the Iberian team make a comeback in the Americas region, and it's going to be a huge comeback for them, as now it looks like this. Let me fix this. And now it looks like this. And this is when they begin to help out their ally, and the Prussians will make a huge comeback in the North American region, and it will deter a bunch of the Europeans to finish up the fight and continue to live on. And it will actually grow the strength of the opposing team and stuff like that. We will see the Iberian team make another counteroffensive, and they will regain these territories in the North American region up to that point. And we will see the Germans, they'll be like, oh crap, why didn't we fully assimilate these lands? So they end up leaving the alliance because they realize that these countries are incompetent, which leads to the kicking out of these two, as they were only there because of Germany. Or Ireland got kicked out for unknown reasons so far. But we will see the continuation of the Russian military or Polish military continue to beat back all the other countries. And yeah, the Polish they beat the Germans back so much that they are beginning to impede on their own territory, and they beat back the French so much that the French military ends up getting split up in 3 different directions, or 4, but these areas down here are fully connected by themselves, so I'm not going to count that. But we're going to see the Prussians begin to move into the German territories like what they had done originally. Dang, words are hard. But they quickly take over the Danish peninsula, or the entrance of it, and they will quickly begin to take over the entrance of the Baltic Sea. And that will look very prominent as they will take over the northern part of the Danish peninsula, and the rest of the peninsula will soon fall. And we're going to see the backstab of multiple areas of the German troops as the Germans try to make a comeback, though they will make a tiny one. They will try to regain the Danish peninsula. It will not be too successful for them, though, because they'll regain that much territory, but they'll lose this much. Yeah. They lost that much, and they gained this much up here, which now kind of looks like a losing battle, as now the Finnish, they're beginning to lose a lot of ground into the Norwegian areas, as this is where most of the rebellions are and still are were and still are happening. And the Finnish, they are completely kicked out of Prussia, and the Polish will quickly kick out the French all the way over here, and all of the Finnish. They'll also destroy all the French troops over here, and they'll begin to move into the Yugoslavian borders down here. And whenever Yugoslavia realizes that they should not have made the trade with the nasty Greeks, they will begin to invade into the Greeks, as the Greeks were actually never going to invade them. And they tell them, we will make sure you get a little bit of land out of this deal if you get out of our country and get out of all of Polish borders. And they will quietly leave the alliance, and that will look like this, as they will again quietly leave, and it will look something like that. And the French instantly get kicked out in economic alliance. The French also get kicked out. Yeah. Um, Yugoslavians get kicked out. The French get kicked out of their own economic alliance. And yeah, the English leave shortly afterward as well. And we're just gonna see these two countries just quietly leave this economic alliance. Yeah. Which leaves one giant economic alliance left in the world. Now, if we look at the military alliances, you can kind of see where all the military is. And it will continue to look like this, as we will continue to see the Union of India, Northern Union of India continue to look like this. Though we will not see Southern India join the Northern Union, as they still despise them a little. Which is why the alliance completely gets destroyed. And the entire European or African area of the Star Alliance gets destroyed, which leaves the Russians. But yeah. Now, as we continue to look through the alliances, I forgot what I was saying. Um, we will see a new member joins one of these alliances. The Russians will invite the Iranians. Yeah, if the Iranians are joining any alliance, it's gonna be against the Greeks. Always hatred towards them. They don't care if they make a peace deal or anything. They want them gone, or destroyed at a point where they cannot even stand as a powerful country or in the top 20. Yeah, they want them gone. They will quickly begin to invade into the modern day Russian areas up here. They will begin to quickly invade into these regions, which will cut them into two different pieces. Or three, but they quickly take over that part. And they will begin to move into these regions down here. And this is when Iran realizes the Saudi Arabians, they're not on their side this time. The Saudi Arabians will begin to invade into the Iranian territories, as they've been wanting Qatar, well, all of the Persian Gulf down here. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, yeah. This is when we're going to see the Saudi Arabians quickly begin to move through all these territories, and they will begin to commit homicides. They will take over this much territory from the Iranians, and this is when they realize, oh crap, we should have been looking at the military alliances. They'll make a deal where they will hesitantly give over land all the way down here if they uh, cancel most of their invasion plans. So they will give over around this much territory over to the Saudi Arabians, which will look like this, though the Iranians will continue to control right down here where the major city is. And this is when the Egyptians begin to move their troops through Greece, and they will begin to move into the Iranian territories or Iranian occupied territories. They will begin to free the Greek territories up here. And yeah, the Russians will begin to move into these territories as well, all the way up here. Boom, boom, they will take all over. They'll take up most of Crimea territories, especially right there. But Moldova will quickly begin to take over a little bit of land right here. They want a little bit of benefit from this. So they'll just take over that portion right there. And this is when most of these troops down right here begin to move through. Yeah, they're moving through Finland as well. Oh boy. They're reaching the Russian occupied territories of Poland. Oh, and they fully reached it in yeah. Yeah, Poland has completely regained all of its confidence, and the French are completely making a defensive front for the Polish, and they will begin to move troops out of the African territory, though they will still control quite a bit of the African territory of Poland. In fact, they'll even do a little bit of switching as the Polish will enter up here, saying like, "Oh wow, there's not a whole lot of troops up here," but the French were actually just taking over these territories down here. Boom, boom. They'll make even a landing right here, but that'll most likely be it. As they begin to move their troops. Oh yeah, Polish counteroffensives that they've moved through. Yeah, they completely regained all these territories down there. And we'll begin to see the French borders down here begin to slowly grow back into what they originally were. Boom. Yeah, they're slowly growing. This is when they begin to commit many genocides. It doesn't. The French are committing many genocides, and many countries are condemning for the acts that they are committing, but they can't do much as the French are continuing their genocide into the Italian areas, as they are only taking down only the people who follow the Italian religion, and they've taken over all of Sardinia, stuff like this, and it's a very sad day for the Italians, as the French are completely moving through your country, or the rebellion of your country, and they've re-seized their territories. Now, if we go ahead and focus on to Iberia, they're beginning to grow into a single nation again, though not by much, as the French are slowing down the process heavily, and they've only gained coastal regions into their mainland territories up here, which will quickly get wiped out by the French, and the French are beginning to move their troops through these areas again, as they want full control of these areas, and they will do so. And now their troops are beginning to move through up here again. Yeah, the French have reorganized their territories. They're kind of like the Russians in World War One and World War Two, as they will also regain a bunch of territory for the Germans, but not too much, as tensions are escalating heavily right now. As the French will go ahead and take over quite a bit of territory. Um, this is when we'll see movements like World War II Germany. The Polish will move through the Yugoslavian country, where they asked them, or they told them, if you do not comply with our answers and let us move troops through your country, you will be invaded, and they were invaded, sadly. Trying to figure out what I can do. They will begin to invade and sneak up onto the French troops, which will damage the French by a lot, and they'll begin to regain much of their territories they had previously regained control of recently. The French are like, whoa, 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 you can't do that. That's illegal. But there's no League of Nations or League of Councilors or anything like that. Back on to the Chinese front, and we're going to begin to see the Chinese continue to do extremely well into the Korean front, and they've taken over all of the Korean peninsula, and they're beginning to control even more lands. But the Korean army is not stopping. They simply do not care, as they are hoping for the Northern Chinese to eventually back off and try to regain their capital. Which is not the state, as now we will see a new country invading into the Northern Chinese. It'll be the Central Asians, as they are beginning to try to regain control of these territories that they have claimed for many years that were not ethnically part of their country. I'm just gonna say, but we're gonna see the, oh gosh, this is a difficult color to see. We're gonna see the Central Asian country move a little bit into the Tibetan country. That will be successful. They will lose many troops out of it because of how mountainous Tibet is. They cannot really move into the country. And now we'll move on to this country right here, which again supports the Northern Chinese. And the Koreans have been waiting for this. Yeah, they're invading your country. They've swiftly taken over your capital. And they're taking over this giant lake, by the way, is the deepest lake in the world. And the Koreans are continuously taking over this country. And we'll see the Northerners, and they're going to be beginning to take away a bunch of land from the Green Mongolian team, which will look like this, as they'll begin to move through this country, and it will continue to look like this until the damage is done. As they'll claim that much territory and take it over, as now we'll begin to see the Beige country. Originally, he hadn't fought in these areas. They're fighting in it now. And they're beginning to take over these regions right here and a little bit down here, but we'll see the green team capitulate over to the Koreans, as they don't have much population left, and it's just like two major cities which fall over to the Koreans, and the rest of the northern Chinese country will fall over to the to the Koreans, and Tibet they just exit the war, as no other country deems them viable to invade. But we will begin to see the Vietnamese continue to invade into the northern Chinese, and they begin to grow increasingly close to the capital of the northern Chinese, and they will continue to take up a bunch of land from the Chinese. Boom, and we'll see the Thailand or the Thai or whatever. They'll take over a little bit of land, but they cannot do much without extending their resources even further. We'll begin to see the northern China or the Northern Indian Union begin to move into these territories of southern China, and give me 1 second. They're going to take over a bunch of territories from northern China, surprisingly a lot more than many countries had it previously expected. They'll take over that much territory, and sorry to leave y'all on a cliffhanger, but this is what the world looks like. And that's going to be it for today's video. Peace out. Yay!